Prince Harry and Meghan Markle just have no idea how to do the whole let's not make a terrible situation any worse thing. This is not the time. Like, how stupid are these two? Do you really expect any of us to feel even a scintilla of sympathy about the fact that you lost your grace and favor mansion? Honestly, they're nuts.
Somewhere in Montecito, there's a phone number Prince Harry can't call anymore. He didn't misplace it, and it didn't disappear by accident. The number was reportedly changed by his own brother. And this week, the woman Harry personally chose to help tell his story, revealed that detail on camera, with the cameras rolling for everyone to see.
You just go on feeling sort of jealous of George, which is not very nice at all anyway, is it? It's horrible to be jealous of a young child who's full of being brought up very, very well and enjoying life. You know, it's just disgusting, honestly, disgusting. She has made him hate his family. You can have a person in your life who tries to drown you.
Welcome back to the channel Behind the Palace. A phone call never came. A private number reportedly stopped working. And according to a wave of royal commentary, that single detail may reveal just how deep the divide between Prince Harry and the royal family has become. For years, speculation has surrounded whether reconciliation was still possible, whether old wounds could heal, and whether family bonds could eventually overcome public controversy. But recent reports have reignited that debate in dramatic fashion. What makes this story even more remarkable is that the discussion isn't centered on a new interview, a memoir, or another public statement. Instead, it focuses on a series of developments that unfolded within a single week, developments that many observers believe point to one clear message: certain boundaries may no longer be negotiable. From reports about communication breakdowns to renewed debate surrounding Frogmore Cottage, from questions about public image to emotional reactions from royal commentators, the conversation has grown louder than ever. But that's only the beginning. Because as more details emerged, many royal watchers began asking an even bigger question. Has the relationship between Prince Harry and Prince William reached a point of no return? The story that has dominated royal commentary in recent days did not begin with a public argument or a dramatic headline. Instead, it began with a series of reports suggesting that the distance between Prince Harry and the rest of the royal family may now be greater than many people previously believed. While discussions about reconciliation have surfaced repeatedly over the years, recent commentary has painted a picture of a relationship that remains deeply strained despite ongoing public interest in whether bridges can eventually be rebuilt. According to reports, one of the most discussed revelations involved communication between Prince Harry and Prince William. Several commentators claimed that the traditional channels that once connected the two brothers have become increasingly limited. Public reaction quickly followed, with many observers focusing on claims that direct contact between them may be far more restricted than previously understood. What made these reports especially significant was the timing. They arrived during a period when speculation surrounding future royal events had already intensified. Many royal watchers had been wondering whether upcoming public appearances or family occasions could provide an opportunity for some form of reconciliation. Instead, the latest discussions appeared to move in the opposite direction. However, that's where things became more complicated. Commentators suggest that the issue is no longer simply about disagreements between two brothers. According to several royal analysts, the situation now involves questions of trust, privacy, and the long-term future of the monarchy itself. Observers noted that Prince William's priorities appear increasingly focused on protecting his immediate family, particularly Catherine and their children. This perspective has become a recurring theme throughout royal commentary. Several royal watchers believe that decisions being made behind the scenes are shaped less by personal resentment and more by concerns about stability and safeguarding the next generation. Whether that interpretation is accurate remains a matter of debate, but it has become a major part of the public conversation. Then another detail emerged. Reports began circulating that Prince Harry may have hoped for indirect assistance in reopening communication channels. According to commentators, there has been speculation that Catherine, Princess of Wales, could potentially serve as a bridge between the two sides. Critics argue that such expectations place an unfair burden on someone who has already found herself at the center of years of public scrutiny and family tensions. Media coverage intensified when commentators started discussing Catherine's reported role in previous attempts to ease tensions within the family. Some observers believe she spent years trying to encourage understanding between both sides. Others argue that the situation has now progressed too far for any single individual to repair. But that wasn't the end of the story. As these discussions unfolded, another important factor entered the debate. Attention shifted toward Prince Harry's public image and how it has evolved over the past several years. Supporters argue that he has consistently spoken out about issues he felt were important. Critics, however, claim that some of those decisions contributed to the current state of family relationships. The debate grew even larger after royal commentators began revisiting statements and interviews from previous years. According to reports, concerns that once seemed temporary are now being viewed through an entirely different lens. Actions that were originally seen as responses to immediate circumstances are increasingly being analyzed as part of a much larger narrative. What happened next surprised many observers. A number of commentators pointed to recent remarks from people who have followed Harry's journey for years. Their assessments added fresh fuel to an already intense discussion. Suddenly, the conversation was no longer focused solely on current events. It had expanded into a broader examination of choices, consequences, and whether certain relationships can recover once trust has been damaged. And as the debate continued to grow, one particular voice would soon attract enormous attention, someone who once appeared firmly supportive of Prince Harry, but whose recent comments would trigger an entirely new wave of controversy. As discussions surrounding Prince Harry's relationship with the royal family continued to dominate headlines, a new development pushed the story into even more controversial territory. This time, attention centered on comments made by someone who had once been regarded as one of Harry's most sympathetic observers. According to reports, royal biographer Angela Levin recently shared a series of remarks that quickly sparked debate across royal commentary circles. What made her comments particularly noteworthy was not simply what she said, but who she is. Levin spent years studying Harry's life and authored a widely discussed biography long before the current family divisions became a major public story. Because of that history, many commentators viewed her observations differently than they would those of a typical royal critic. Media coverage intensified when clips of her recent interviews began circulating online. In those appearances, Levin offered a highly critical assessment of Harry's personal journey over the past several years. Her comments immediately divided opinion. Critics of Harry pointed to her statements as evidence supporting their long-held concerns. Supporters, meanwhile, argued that her perspective represented only one interpretation of a much more complicated situation. However, critics pointed to something else. Several commentators noted that Levin's remarks appeared to connect current events with concerns Harry himself reportedly expressed years ago. According to reports, Harry once spoke openly about his future place within the monarchy and how public attention might eventually shift toward younger members of the royal family. That discussion has resurfaced repeatedly in recent weeks. Observers noted that as Prince George grows older and gradually becomes a more visible figure within the royal institution, conversations about succession and future leadership naturally attract increasing attention. While George remains a private child who should be kept away from public controversy, some commentators believe these broader discussions have influenced perceptions of Harry's role for years. The story becomes even more interesting from here. According to royal commentators, the debate is no longer simply about family disagreements. It has expanded into questions about identity, purpose, and relevance within an institution that is constantly evolving. Several royal watchers believe Harry struggled with finding his place within a structure where future roles are often determined by birth order and constitutional realities. Whether those interpretations are fair remains a matter of opinion, but one report raised an even bigger question. During recent discussions, commentators revisited claims regarding Harry's relationship with William's children. These reports generated significant attention because they touched on one of the most sensitive aspects of the ongoing family divide, the next generation of royals. According to commentary surrounding the issue, William's approach appears increasingly focused on creating clear boundaries around his family life. Observers suggest that decisions involving George, Charlotte, and Louis are viewed through the lens of long-term protection and privacy rather than short-term public relations considerations. That revelation triggered another wave of discussion. Supporters of William argue that any parent in a similar position would prioritize stability and security for their children. Critics, however, question whether maintaining such strict boundaries ultimately makes reconciliation more difficult. The public debate quickly evolved into a broader conversation about forgiveness, accountability, and whether damaged relationships can truly be repaired. But there was one problem. As attention remained fixed on family tensions, another challenge emerged for Harry's public image. Several organizations and charitable initiatives connected to his work found themselves facing difficult headlines and increased scrutiny. According to reports, questions surrounding leadership disputes, management controversies, and organizational challenges began generating their own media coverage. While these issues are separate from family matters, commentators suggest they have contributed to a larger narrative about Harry's recent public difficulties. Public reaction quickly followed. Some observers argued that the controversies were unrelated events being unfairly grouped together. Others suggested they reflected broader concerns about leadership, decision-making, and public perception. As often happens with high-profile figures, every new development became part of a larger story. Then the situation took another unexpected turn. Royal commentators began discussing whether these challenges represented simple bad luck or the consequences of choices made over many years. Critics argue that Harry's current position is largely self-created. Supporters counter that the relentless scrutiny directed toward him would make success difficult for anyone. The debate grew even larger after commentators examined the contrast between Harry's earlier public image and the one that exists today. Years ago, he was frequently described as one of the most popular members of the royal family. His military service, charitable work, and approachable personality earned widespread praise. Today, however, media narratives surrounding him are far more divided. According to reports, that shift has become one of the most fascinating aspects of the entire story. How did a figure once viewed as a royal success story become such a polarizing public figure? Many observers believe the answer lies in a combination of personal decisions, media coverage, changing circumstances, and family conflict. Others argue that the truth is likely far more complex than any single explanation. And just when it seemed the conversation couldn't become more intense, another long-running controversy returned to the spotlight, one involving a royal property, public money, and a debate that continues to divide opinion across the United Kingdom. Just when the debate surrounding Prince Harry's relationship with Prince William appeared to have reached its peak, another series of developments pushed the story into even more controversial territory. This time, attention shifted away from communication issues and toward a larger question that many royal commentators have been asking for years. How much of Harry's current situation is the result of circumstances, and how much is the consequence of decisions made over time? According to reports, that question resurfaced after renewed discussion surrounding Harry's charitable legacy and public reputation. Several commentators argued that some of the projects and causes once associated with his strongest achievements have recently faced difficult headlines, creating fresh challenges for his public image. Observers noted that this represents a significant shift from how Harry was viewed only a decade ago. At one time, many royal watchers considered him one of the monarchy's greatest success stories. His military service, charitable initiatives, and ability to connect with the public helped establish a reputation that often distinguished him from other members of the royal family. For years, he appeared to possess a unique ability to balance royal responsibility with a relatable public image. However, critics pointed to something else. They argue that the goodwill Harry once enjoyed has gradually been replaced by controversy. According to commentators, every major project, interview, or public statement now seems to generate intense debate rather than universal support. Whether that assessment is fair remains open to interpretation. Supporters maintain that Harry continues to advocate for causes he believes in, and that much of the criticism directed toward him stems from deep divisions within royal coverage itself. Critics, meanwhile, suggest that repeated public disputes have overshadowed many of his achievements. Then another detail emerged. Attention once again turned toward Angela Levin's recent commentary. As someone who spent years studying Harry's life, her observations carried significant weight among royal audiences. According to reports, Levin suggested that Harry's personal transformation over the years has been dramatic and difficult to ignore. Those comments quickly generated headlines. Some observers agreed with her conclusions, arguing that Harry today appears very different from the figure who once represented a popular and energetic face of the monarchy. Others challenged that narrative, pointing out that people naturally evolve over time and that public perceptions are often shaped by selective media coverage. The debate grew even larger after commentators began discussing the role Meghan Markle allegedly played in Harry's journey. It is important to emphasize that these claims remain matters of opinion rather than established fact. Different commentators have reached very different conclusions regarding Meghan's influence. Nevertheless, recent interviews and discussions brought those arguments back into the spotlight. According to reports, critics argue that Meghan encouraged decisions that contributed to the family's current divisions. Supporters strongly reject that interpretation, insisting that Harry is fully capable of making his own choices and that assigning responsibility to one individual oversimplifies a much more complicated situation. What happened next surprised many observers. Instead of focusing solely on family disagreements, commentators began examining broader questions about leadership, influence, and accountability. The conversation expanded beyond personal relationships and evolved into a debate about decision-making itself. Several royal watchers believe the public has become increasingly interested in understanding how major royal decisions are made behind the scenes. Questions that once seemed private now attract intense public attention. But there was one problem. As analysts continued debating Harry's past and present, another controversy refused to disappear from the headlines: Frogmore Cottage. For years, Frogmore Cottage symbolized Harry and Meghan's official role within the royal family. It was intended to serve as their UK residence and represented their place within the institution. However, following their departure from royal duties, the property's future became the subject of ongoing controversy. According to reports, recent discussions surrounding Frogmore reignited long-standing disagreements about what happened after Harry and Meghan stepped away from royal life. Some commentators argue that losing access to the property reflected the natural consequences of leaving official duties behind. Others believe the situation highlights how dramatically relationships within the family have changed. Public reaction quickly followed. Across newspapers, online forums, and social media platforms, opinions remained sharply divided. Critics argued that retaining a royal residence while no longer performing royal duties would have been difficult to justify. Supporters countered that the couple had maintained important ties to the United Kingdom and deserved a continued connection to the property. Then the situation took another unexpected turn. commentators began revisiting earlier statements made by Meghan before her marriage into the royal family. Comparisons were drawn between comments she made years ago regarding luxury lifestyles and more recent discussions surrounding her business ventures and brand development. According to reports, critics viewed those comparisons as evidence of inconsistency. Supporters argued that such comparisons ignored the realities of personal growth, changing circumstances, and evolving professional goals. The debate quickly became another major talking point. Media coverage intensified when commentators linked these discussions to broader questions about authenticity, public image, and personal branding. What might otherwise have been a routine business conversation suddenly became part of the larger royal narrative. And that's when everything changed. What initially appeared to be separate controversies, family tensions, Frogmore Cottage, public image debates, and charitable scrutiny began merging into one larger story. For many observers, the central theme was becoming increasingly clear. This was no longer simply a dispute between family members. According to commentators, it had become a debate about trust, responsibility, reputation, and the future direction of royal relationships. And as these questions continued to dominate headlines, an even more explosive discussion was about to emerge, one involving royal privilege, financial scrutiny, and questions that extended far beyond Prince Harry himself. As the conversation surrounding Prince Harry continued to dominate royal commentary, a new controversy suddenly expanded the debate far beyond the relationship between two brothers. What began as a discussion about family divisions quickly evolved into a broader examination of privilege, accountability, and the future image of the monarchy itself. According to reports, attention shifted toward other members of the royal family after questions emerged regarding housing arrangements, financial support, and the role of non-working royals. While Harry remained at the center of many headlines, commentators increasingly argued that the institution faced challenges extending well beyond one family dispute. Observers noted that the timing could hardly have been more sensitive. Public scrutiny of royal finances has intensified in recent years. Across the United Kingdom, conversations about transparency, value, and public accountability have become more prominent than ever. As a result, reports involving royal properties and financial arrangements immediately attracted widespread attention. However, that's where things became even more controversial. According to commentators, discussions surrounding Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie sparked fresh debate about what responsibilities should accompany royal privileges. Reports focused on questions regarding housing support and whether non-working royals should continue benefiting from arrangements connected to the institution. Public reaction quickly followed. Many observers argued that individuals who are not carrying out official royal duties should operate with greater financial independence. Others countered that the situation was being oversimplified and that royal housing arrangements are often more complicated than headlines suggest. The debate grew even larger after commentators linked these discussions to Prince William's reported vision for the future monarchy. For years, analysts have speculated that William favors a slimmer and more focused royal institution. According to reports, that approach emphasizes fewer working royals, clearer responsibilities, and greater public accountability. Supporters argue that such reforms are necessary to maintain public trust in a rapidly changing world. Critics, however, question whether reducing the size of the institution risks weakening important royal traditions and family connections. Then another detail emerged. Several commentators suggested that William's decisions regarding family relationships may be connected to this broader philosophy. In their view, the issue is not solely about personal disagreements, but about protecting the long-term credibility of the monarchy. Whether that interpretation is accurate remains a matter of debate. Nevertheless, many royal watchers believe William increasingly views decisions through the lens of future stability rather than short-term popularity. According to those observers, maintaining firm boundaries is seen as a necessary part of preserving institutional trust. What happened next surprised many observers. As financial controversies and family tensions dominated headlines, an entirely different story began generating attention. Unlike the previous debates, this one had little to do with conflict. Instead, it involved Catherine, Princess of Wales. According to reports, footage from a recent public engagement received an overwhelmingly positive response from viewers. The images showed Catherine interacting with individuals undergoing difficult health challenges, creating an emotional moment that quickly spread across media platforms. Media coverage intensified when commentators compared the public reaction to the ongoing controversies surrounding other members of the royal family. For many observers, the contrast was striking. One side of the royal conversation focused on disputes, criticism, and controversy. The other focused on service, empathy, and personal connection. As a result, discussions about Catherine's role within the monarchy grew even stronger. Several royal watchers believe moments like these help explain why William is reportedly so protective of his family. According to commentators, Catherine's public image has become one of the monarchy's greatest strengths. Her ability to connect with people on a personal level continues to generate positive attention even during periods of intense royal controversy. That revelation triggered another wave of discussion. Supporters argue that protecting Catherine and the children is now William's highest priority. Critics question whether that approach sometimes comes at the expense of rebuilding fractured family relationships. The debate remains deeply divided. However, one report raised an even bigger question. If William's primary focus is safeguarding his wife, his children, and the future king, does that leave room for reconciliation with Harry? Or have institutional responsibilities become more important than repairing personal relationships? Commentators suggest that this question now sits at the center of the entire story. Some believe reconciliation remains possible if enough time passes and trust can gradually be rebuilt. Others argue that certain actions have created consequences that may last for decades. Then the situation took another unexpected turn. Rather than discussing what Harry should do next, many analysts began focusing on what William is trying to achieve. According to reports, his supporters see a clear strategy emerging: strengthen the core family unit, reduce unnecessary controversy, and prepare the next generation for future responsibilities. Whether people agree with that strategy or not, commentators increasingly view it as the defining theme behind many recent developments. And that's why this controversy has become so significant. For many observers, the story is no longer about who said what in an interview or who attended which event. It has become a larger debate about the future direction of the monarchy, the balance between family loyalty and institutional duty, and the difficult choices leaders sometimes make when they believe long-term stability is at stake. As these questions continue to dominate royal discussions, one final issue remains unresolved. What happens next if the current divide shows no sign of disappearing? That question may ultimately determine the future of not only Harry and William's relationship, but also the public perception of the royal family for years to come. As the dust begins to settle on another turbulent chapter of royal commentary, attention is increasingly shifting away from what has already happened and toward what could happen next. While headlines continue to focus on family tensions, property disputes, and public disagreements, the bigger question now concerns the future. Is there still a realistic path toward reconciliation, or has the divide become too deep to bridge? According to reports, opinions remain sharply divided. Some commentators believe time remains the greatest ally of reconciliation. They argue that family relationships, even those damaged by years of conflict, have a unique ability to heal when emotions cool and circumstances change. History is filled with examples of public figures repairing relationships that once appeared beyond saving. Several royal watchers believe that King Charles may still hope for some form of reconciliation in the years ahead. Observers noted that fathers often view family conflicts differently than siblings do. While disagreements can create significant barriers, many believe Charles would prefer a future where communication is restored rather than permanently severed. However, that's where things become more complicated. According to commentators, the issue is no longer limited to personal feelings. Trust has become the central factor. Many analysts suggest that rebuilding trust may prove far more difficult than reopening communication itself. A phone call can happen in minutes. Restoring confidence after years of public controversy can take far longer. Critics argue that actions have consequences, and that some of the damage caused by public accusations may never fully disappear. Supporters counter that reconciliation cannot occur unless both sides are eventually willing to move forward rather than remain focused on the past. The debate grows even larger when future royal events are considered. Over the coming years, several major occasions could potentially place Harry and other senior royals in the same environment. According to reports, each of those moments will likely generate renewed speculation about whether relations have improved behind the scenes. Media coverage intensified when commentators discussed the possibility of future encounters involving William and Harry. Some observers believe such meetings are inevitable due to family responsibilities and major national events. Others argue that physical proximity does not necessarily indicate emotional reconciliation. Then another important factor emerged. The future role of Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis continues to influence discussions about long-term royal strategy. Many commentators believe William's decisions today are heavily shaped by what he believes is best for the next generation. According to royal analysts, protecting the future heirs from unnecessary controversy may remain a priority regardless of whether family relationships improve. Supporters view that approach as responsible leadership. Critics question whether strict boundaries risk creating even greater divisions over time. What happened next surprised many observers. Instead of focusing solely on Harry's future, commentators increasingly began discussing Meghan Markle's long-term public role. Reports suggest that every new business venture, media project, or public appearance continues to attract significant attention. Some analysts believe Meghan's future success could eventually reshape public perceptions surrounding the couple. Others argue that public opinion has already become deeply entrenched, making major changes difficult regardless of future achievements. The story becomes even more interesting from here. According to reports, younger audiences often view these controversies very differently than older generations. While traditional royal supporters may focus on institutional loyalty, younger observers frequently place greater emphasis on personal freedom and individual choice. This generational divide could play an important role in shaping future public opinion. Ultimately, there are strong arguments on both sides of the debate. Some believe William is right to prioritize stability, privacy, and the protection of his family. Others believe reconciliation should always remain possible, regardless of how serious past disagreements may have been. What remains clear is that the story is far from over. The relationships, decisions, and consequences discussed throughout this controversy will likely continue influencing royal coverage for years to come. Whether the future brings reconciliation, continued distance, or something in between remains one of the most fascinating unanswered questions in modern royal history. And as royal watchers continue searching for clues about what comes next, one reality stands above all others. The future of these relationships may ultimately depend not on public statements, media headlines, or commentary, but on choices made privately, far away from the cameras that have followed this story every step of the way. As we've seen throughout this story, the debate surrounding Prince Harry, Prince William, and the future of their relationship is about far more than a simple family disagreement. According to reports, it has become a complex discussion involving trust, responsibility, public image, and the future direction of the royal family itself. From claims about broken communication channels to ongoing questions surrounding royal properties, charitable controversies, and public perception, each development has added another layer to an already complicated situation. Commentators suggest that what once appeared to be a temporary family dispute may now represent a much deeper divide. Yet others believe that time has a way of changing even the most difficult circumstances. What remains undeniable is that millions of people around the world continue to follow every new development, searching for signs of whether reconciliation remains possible or whether these divisions have become permanent. But now we want to hear from you. Do you believe Prince William is right to maintain firm boundaries in order to protect Catherine, his children, and the future of the monarchy? Or do you think family relationships should always leave room for forgiveness and a second chance, regardless of what has happened in the past? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We read as many comments as possible, and some of the best discussions happen right there in the comment section. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss the latest royal news, analysis, and exclusive commentary here on Behind the Palace. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.